By the way, Ed, I have some news to share.
You do.
I didn't tell you about this, but let's do this. Let's do this like carefully.
All
This
right. Is that a
is my
Progress
Progress
Champions Award?
Champions Award. So I have this nice little thing here that denotes the year. So that's cool. Thanks for sending me that. I really appreciate it. I know you didn't personally, but I got some nice Progress socks here. Very green. And the pièce de résistance Progress water bottle. So thank you. That was awesome.
Nice. If I had those socks, they'd be invisible right now. Because we chose the exact same color as a green screen
Illegal green?
for our brand
Yep,
color.
illegal green. There you go.
So those are given out to folks that appreciate the Progress software stack and share things about it in the community. And we appreciate them back. So if you are a Progress Champion candidate, you feel like you are one, just give us a line, show us some of the stuff you've been up to. Maybe you could be a Progress Champion too. I don't know if you saw this. This came from TechCrunch. It is
Yes, the
a
AI
recap.
summary. Yes.
It's a recap of the Google I/O event.
Goes on for like a minute.
It goes on for 47 seconds
Yeah.
and is all just the word AI. So we don't need to go through the entire thing. You get the idea.
You get the it. Yep.
And if you want to see more of this, Build is next week. So Microsoft Build, I'm assuming, will be
We should
very
come out with a
similar.
bingo card. We should come out with a bingo card where every square is just AI.
This was my take on it. I said I got an early preview of Microsoft Build for
Yes.
you.
Yes.
So yeah, be aware there's going to be more AI talk
Yes.
coming in the near future.
I think I might just do that today. I'll come up with a bingo card for Tech Conference Bingo Card 2024. And we'll just every square will just say AI.
I did a cut like that for Build many years ago when we were doing like meetup groups to kind of like connect with the Build, experience.
Yep.
So I went to Build and it was the year they decided they were going to hire like some acting school like sophomores to do like all of the presentational bits. Do you remember this? Where they had like the Cortana in the car demo.
Oh,
Where the girl's
okay.
like, I'm gonna drive to work. And I had like a whole montage of like the bad acting and played that for the meetup group, and it went over very well.
Hey, it wouldn't be a corporate event without some bad acting. Come on.
Yeah. That year there was a theme. Somebody went with the acting theme.
I'm wondering if those actors actually put that on their IMDb pages. Like I was part of the Windows 7 launch video,
Yeah. Yeah, that was the one where they had the jackhammer. Like the girl said jackhammer like 30 times because they're identifying like a tool in the workplace using Azure Vision or whatever it was.
Perfect.
I mean, it worked. The marketing worked. I still remember.
Gotcha.
Anyway, on to actual news.
Yes, please.
I don't know if you caught this one, John. This was very much up your alley of things of interest. I thought you might like to discuss this with me. This was one of those source, what do you call it? Where they get into the supply chain attack.
Mm-hmm.
And hackers got into the supply chain for the source code of one of the biggest chatbots for Discord. And it was like top.gg or something like that. Yeah. Top.gg, a popular search and discovery platform for Discord servers, bots, and other social media tools geared towards gaming to boost engagement and improve functionality. So they basically started slipping in malware to scoop up personal information, credentials, keys, anything of usefulness, and slip that into the source code. And then these things got compiled into, the other tools and packages for Discord and then deployed as plugins and whatnot.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So this article kind of outlines like the whole thing, and it starts back in like 2022 or something like
Right.
that. So I mean, this went on and on for quite a while. Yeah, here we go. November 1st, 2022. This type color um, fork was pushed into this package, and it was like something to do with like colorizing text in somebody's name, something ridiculously small. But they found the malicious software in there, and yeah, this keeps going on and on until today when they caught everything. So
Hmm.
this goes back
Interesting.
to a point you keep making about software bill of materials and making
Yep.
sure that everything in your
Yep.
supply chain shakes out and is
Yep.
from known sources.
Yep.
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is on the
It's
Python platform. I'm not a Python programmer, so I'm not in tune with their package delivery systems and all of that, but I know NuGet has safeguards in place to try to help against stuff like this.
yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. They're gonna have malicious actors out there, so just try your best. Be careful.
Yeah, so this could have been pretty bad. I didn't see like how widespread this was or anything, but it's been out there a while, so who knows what
Right.
kind of information's leaked out of it. But they do a pretty good job of explaining here on Bleeping Computer in all of the steps that are involved in it, not only taking place but what it does.
Right.
So good read there. Let's see what else we've got here. I don't have a fancy segue into this one from security. I think that was the only security read I had this week. This is one I caught early in the week from a friend of mine, Jonathan Danelko, which has a great blog, by the way. He shared this as like a good read, good coffee time read. So I went ahead and
Sure.
read through it. We don't talk about minifying CSS anymore. That's the title of the article, and there's a reason for that, and the article goes through the various reasons. A lot of the reasons are behind this are the fact that these things have been kind of abstracted away, but then there's also improvements on HTTP that have helped with this as well.
Yep.
So it's like not such a big deal anymore if you don't minify. And
Yeah.
that's because HTTP2 is an improvement. You have something to say there, John?
Yeah, I was just gonna say like it's a micro optimization now because you've
Mm-hmm.
got multiplexing within HTTP2. I think this article goes into the detail with that. It does, make sure that you use the right compression algorithms. A lot of people are still using gzip. You should probably use something better like Brotli, for example. Um, but the reality is that these are non-blocking calls to a large extent. The only one that I know of that really hits you hard is JavaScript, obviously, but um, these are downloaded in parallel thanks to HB2, etc. So um, yeah, I can see why. I mean, the reality is if you make this part of your build system, you don't really need to worry about it. I mean, this will get minified automatically. So I mean, it's a non-issue for me.
Yeah. Um, there's also like framework splitting that comes with like Angular and
Yeah.
some of those things where they will chunk up the pieces and deliver them with the relevant pieces of code they belong with, stuff like that. They name
Yep.
a couple of them: Astro, Next, Nuxt, Angular. They all do that, and then HTTP2 really changed a lot of things.
Yep.
Matter of fact, like there was like a convention of importing into CSS files from other CSS files that nobody used for ages because it would like bog down uh, your kind of startup time,
Right.
and it fixed that. And it's kind of like one of those things that was a bad practice that everybody talked about for years and years and years. Like, don't use the import statement in CSS; it will clobber your performance. It's like kind of akin to like using regions, but it actually had like a negative effect on your code base,
Mm,
other than just like you know poor habits. It actually like made your website sluggish too.
right.
But now you can go back and say like use this, this is actually an effective way to import and chain together CSS files, and people will still probably cringe just because it's been broken for so long. But HTTP2 lets you use that now too.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
this is a good read. Uh, you know, we try to keep tabs on why we change the way we do things, so we don't repeat history and do the same stupid thing over and over again. So it's nice to kind of look back on why things have changed and what the changes are, and why we don't minify CSS so explicitly anymore. Speaking of JavaScript development, this is another one that we've talked about on the show. I thought you might like this as well, John. This is on the Telerik blogs, so a little shameless plug in that. But getting started with Bun for React developers. So, John, you've talked about Bun a few times on the show.
Yeah, Bun's a bit of it's an all-in-one sort of toolkit. That's how they self-tout it, basically. But if you're looking at, utilizing JavaScript and TypeScript and wanting to have a secure runtime that's performant and toolkit that's NPM compatible, Bun is a good alternative. And they're up to version, I believe, 1.1 now. So, and we recently talked about it on Eat Sleep Code. It's now available for Windows. So check it out.
Yeah, so this article goes into, like, if you're a React person and you want to get started on a new React app, here's how you do it with Bun, and deploy a Docker container and the whole 9 yards.
Very nice.
So yeah, uses Vite, React app, command line tool, and then boom, you got Vite plus React in a container, and then you can deploy.
It's like nuts and gum together at last. I'm kidding, of course.
Yeah, it's all. No. It's a nice quick read on this stuff if you're looking at getting started with Bun and Docker and all of that with your React app. So check that one out at telerik.com/blogs. This is something you added, John, announcing the NuGet commands for C# dev kit.
Yeah, we're going to have to quickly go through these. I've got a hot stop. So now with the C# dev kit, they've added support for NuGet packages. So you can add, remove, update packages directly through the top prompt that you'll see in VS Code now, which is awesome. These and other functions are now coming to the C# dev kit, which is the new extensibility mechanism in VS Code.
Nice. Yeah, I need to start using VS Code. I keep saying I'm going to, and then something stops me from doing it. The last thing was a long story, so I won't tell it, but I ended up not using it again. And we talked about some AI. Actually, let's jump back over to VS Code for another minute.
Yes.
Using WebAssembly for extension development.
Yeah, so for the longest time, I've been talking about how WebAssembly, the secret sauce, or I guess the killer app here is plugins for me. When I first heard about WebAssembly, I think a lot of people just look at WebAssembly as being able to, target the front end in a rich way. I've always been the advocate of, no, this is an awesome way of doing plugins. And so now, with version 1.89, this article came out on the VS Code blog, and they talk about utilizing WASM as a mechanism for extending VS Code. This is brand new. This is awesome, and I think this is going to be the future for all plugin development, which is choose your programming language, choose your runtime, we'll load it in via WASM, and away you go.
Nice. And let's see, we'll go back now to the test driving ChatGPT article that you shared.
Yeah, so we have a new LLM, based on, it's called ChatGPT 4.0. This has image analysis, and there's some other OpenAI just recently announced this, and so a lot of people have been experimenting with it because they've got the memory usage down, they got the performance up, they've got a lot of capabilities in there. And so this was an article written by Sabrina talking about how well it can do against math. This is one of the killer apps with AI mathematics, because once it can understand this, we can start tackling things like proofs and such if we can. So this is an article that talks about how they basically pose the idea of utilizing ChatGPT in the context of a math problem. Some interesting results. I'll tell you the end result was that they found that less information was able to solve it with less information. So if you just give it a very strict set of instructions and not try and help it too much, it can solve the problem.
Yeah, that's something I've noticed with it so far is I'll see prompts that are like very verbose.
Yeah.
And supposedly that, that can help a lot, but I usually start pretty basic and see what I can get done with the most basic statements first.
Yep.
And try not to lead on the chatbot too much.
I've been watching a lot of the news out of Build, It's been fun to watch. Exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of controversial, a little bit of topical, a little bit of kind of everything AI. It's definitely been interesting. We'll
Yep.
surely cover a bunch of build stuff today on the show. Before we get started, we'll just cover some other news, and then we'll just dive into all the build stuff at the end.
Nice.
First up is an article that you pinned here, John.
Yeah.
This is by Microsoft Regional Director um, Adam Kogan.
Yes.
And what is this about?
So SSW, or Superior Software for Windows, they're based out of Australia. They have offices around the world. They're a consulting firm, very well known in the .NET space. Adam Kogan is their CEO. He's been running this shop for a long, long time. He's the founder, etc. And he's a Microsoft Regional Director, etc., etc. He's done a lot of stuff. Anyways, they've recently purchased Tina CMS, and I thought this was cool. This is a little Aussie, relatively speaking to like America, but a little Aussie consultancy that they do a lot of great work. And so they've acquired Tina CMS. And as stated here, it's the number one CMS on GitHub. SSW puts out a lot of open source, and they do a lot of really great utilities, etc. And I'm really excited by this. I think this is going to provide the support that they need to continue building out this CMS. They do a lot of work with Sitefinity. They do a lot of work with other CMSs, for example. But this is just expanding their portfolio, and I'm really encouraged by this. And congratulations to SSW on the acquisition.
Interesting. I haven't heard of Tina CMS before. That's the first time I've come across it. I've played around with some of them back in the day, but
Yes.
Most of my CMS experience these days is with Sitefinity, so I haven't really checked up on any of the competition lately. We had another article. Let me know if we touched this last week or
We
not.
haven't. No.
Okay.
No, we haven't.
So Stack Overflow community is not happy with an OpenAI deal.
Yeah.
I think we might have both pinned this one, John, but go ahead, fire away.
Yeah, you can see the linked announcement there. OpenAI and Stack Overflow made an announcement regarding an API-based partnership deal. The developers, which are situated in the middle, this is the classic meme of...
I love the meme.
Yeah, exactly. So the community itself are the people who are writing answers on Stack Overflow. They're not particularly stoked by the fact that OpenAI will now include in its model answers posted to Stack Overflow based on this announcement. And so to take it whatever way you want, this is just a post that talks about the community's reaction to this announcement. And so, yeah. There's obviously some overblown reactions to this. This is slightly overblown, but people are calling for this is going to be the death of Stack Overflow, blah, 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 because everyone's going to walk away. I don't know. I mean, like, this stuff happens all the time. If you consider the fact that the Google indexer is kind of akin to this, which is like they're obviously caching a lot of this stuff anyway. So
yeah,
I mean, we've been doing this for years and years and years, this aggregation of content, and it's caused some controversy. Like people have said, very famously, there have been court cases that have been filed against news sites, etc. Like this shouldn't be allowed, or not against news sites have filed court cases. Excuse me. So there's a lot of thoughts about this, the open internet, whatever that means. So yeah, this is just a topical sort of thing that's happening right now in the Stack Overflow community. So this is a classic. I made this. You made this, and then he looks at it and like, I made this. It's like no.
Yeah, I mean, again, you mentioned it's similar to like when you do a search and it comes up with like the kind of aggregated search results.
Yeah.
Like the answer sometimes right there in the search. You don't have to click through to the site. I get that. I think people are upset too because that's content that they provided as a service that is not something that they're paid for.
Yeah.
You're not compensated to put things on Stack Overflow.
No, but at the same time, they are hosting that said platform, and so there's terms of service. There's an end user agreement. So it's a bit gray. It's not black and white. It's gray.
Yeah.
So I understand both sides of this argument.
Yeah, I definitely understand both sides. So, I don't frequent Stack Overflow myself. I've had strong opinions about it for quite some time, so
Okay.
more power to them, I guess, if this is what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm
Yep.
on the fence. I would, yeah, it's a whole different topic, but I've had issues with the way they handle things with
Yeah.
content moderation there in the past.
Yeah, like classically in literature, this has been known as the commons. So the commons is the refrain that says, this is stuff that's been put out for the general public to digest and interpret and discuss, etc. And it forms the zeitgeist, or whatever term du jour you want to use for all this stuff. It could be argued that, Stack Overflow is just an extension of that, and that, this content should be considered part of that, and that, when they sign up for this site and they're contributing content, they understand that this content is, under their authorship name, and it's the content they contributed, but they have the ability to share that data, and I think people will understand that, but whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, anytime even you put like your public blog online and stuff,
yeah.
this stuff's going to end up creeping into AI and other things and search results and whatnot.
I mean, I don't care. I mean, I've posted tons of answers and so forth. I don't care. I mean, I go for it. I don't care. So I realize I'm just putting it out there. My answers are floating away like dandelion spores. I don't care. So
this is just a generally good read that I picked up. No news relevance or clever segues. There's just something I didn't know about, and I stumbled upon this blog post. .NET 8 has frozen collections. I don't know if you saw this one come across.
For performance. Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing. I missed this when .NET 8 shipped. It totally fell off my radar. So Frozen Set and Frozen Dictionary, all part of the Frozen collections. These are optimized for quick readability for performance improvements.
Yes. Yeah, we use these.
Yeah, they're meant to be a write once, read only type of a data set. So I guess there's a lot less overhead involved, if you don't have to track changes and all of that stuff going on inside the collection. So Frozen Dictionary.
Yep.
Give that a try. I thought this was there's some benchmarks in here that kind of prove out the speed handling of this.
Yep.
I think it's really clever. Interested to see what I can do with Blazor in regards to this. While Blazor is generally pretty stateful, not everything that you pull into like a view has to have the ability for like the user or the state to read and write from it. So there could be some interesting use cases there as well. So Frozen collections, today I learned of the day.
Yep. This is an old pattern, by the way. Creating caches or hashes, things like that. Very old pattern to tweak out some performance. In the case of hashes, is for a quick lookup. In case of caches, it's read only, write once. So
yeah, now it's a native feature to the .NET language.
Yep.
This is another good read that I came across. I'm a big fan of not using CSS frameworks anymore, and there's some pretty popular ones out there that still kind of do a lot of things that vanilla CSS does kind of very well.
Yep.
And this is kind of a lengthy article, and it goes into a little bit of history here. I don't know if he calls out Tailwind in particular, but there's a lot of the older frameworks mentioned in here. I've used all of, by the way, except for SUSE here. I've used 960GS like a lot back in the day. Bootstrap, of course. Foundation was my favorite for quite a while. But what has happened over the years is CSS has gotten pretty much the layout aspects down pat, where you don't need a framework at all to do any kind of layouts. And you got Grid and Flexbox, so thank for it. And it goes through quite a bit of robust examples in here of how to make kind of like a grid system with very little code and then like kind of manipulate that grid system to do various
Finally, we can
different
center a
layouts
div.
that you want to do. This has not been a problem for like 7 years, but it's still like the go-to meme for people to slam CSS.
Yes.
And yeah, it's been a solved problem for quite some time.
Yeah.
But you know, this kind of puts together like a replacement like mini grid framework for you to like plop in and replace your bootstraps and things for layouts.
Yep.
And I think it's a good read. I did something like this quite a while ago before it even got this easy to do. And I had a little GitHub library that you could pull in. Like I think it was Sass that enabled it before CSS Grid, and I had like this little Sass library that was like 10 lines of code that replaced all of the layout stuff from Bootstrap or Foundation. And it's like, here it is again, but it's using some more modern practices. It's got CSS variables, Flexbox, Grid, and it's all up on CodePen for folks to check out. So Smashing Magazine.
I think we can finally lay to rest this issue of having to center both horizontally and vertically a div. So
yeah, definitely. If you want to read about that one,
before this was a nightmare. It's like
it was.
You forget about these coding challenges. If you were to say please center a div both vertically and horizontally, assuming circa 1999 internet technologies, I'd be like, oh my god, here we go.
John's like, I could finally ditch my HTML tables.
Yes, I was just gonna say TDTR
doing layouts.
TH. Yep.
But if you want to dig into CodePen, like you can see like how this all works out.
Nice.
And you know, it's very little code. Very, very little.
Do you like CodePen? I love CodePen.
I love CodePen. Yeah, absolutely. I love CodePen. I've been a big fan of it since the very beginning. This is actually one of the reasons I was excited to see us build out Blazor REPL, so we could have this similar functionality for the .NET world. So if you haven't seen that one yet, go to blazorrepl.telerik.com. Matter of fact, you know,
bring it up. Let's take a look. Yeah.
Here we go. I've got something better, John.
Sick of all that messing and fussing just to share your Blazor demos? Well, fuss no more. Introducing Telerik REPL for Blazor. With Telerik REPL for Blazor, it's the perfect tool to write, run, and share your Blazor snippets and demos. Our easy-to-use online editor makes sharing your cool new demos as simple as writing code and clicking share. And why stop there? Have you ever wanted to share a live Blazor demo directly on your blog? No problem. Just click embed. It's just that easy. Install your favorite NuGet packages and try them live in the browser. You can even access all 95 Telerik UI for Blazor components in a variety of colors your friends will be sure to enjoy. But that's not all. Install the Telerik extension for Visual Studio or VS Code and share directly from your editor. Oh, amazing! Just visit blazorrepl.telerik.com and use it free now.
Do not use or operate Blazor REPL if you're allergic to Blazor REPL or one of its ingredients.
Nice. Where'd you get the floppies for that? Where did you do you still have floppies? I don't think I have a single floppy in my house.
All right. There's a floppy.
Oh my god.
Right there, right?
All
Wait
right,
a minute.
people.
Wait a minute.
That thing that Ed is holding right now, it's plastic. Okay, never mind.
It's a coaster for my desk.
For the kids watching the show, this is how we used to store files, and it was even worse than that. We used to have bigger versions of that were also probably that flexible. The 5.25s, that's a 3.5 floppy, by the way.
Yeah,
you
this
can
is a 3.5.
slide it open, and yeah, it's fun.
So I've always been a fan of the cheesy.
We're old. Sorry.
Commercials that they do, like these made for TV products, and before QVC even, like these things have been around. Like I remember when I was a kid, like you used to have to like dial the number. To get the deal right away type of thing. But they always start with...
Okay, that is complete BS. No one operators are standing by. They're never standing by. They're like, am I one of the first 1,000 callers? I'm like, yeah, you're one of the first 1,000 callers. Like, they're offering that
you're
deal
the
to
first
everyone.
if it makes you feel better. But like they always start with like this invention that's looking for a problem, right?
Yeah.
And then like there's some moron that can't operate the most basic thing, like boiling noodles was one of them. And I remember this
Ginsu knife, yeah.
commercial. Like there was this thing that you put noodles and hot water in, and it's supposed to like make the perfect pasta or some garbage. And like at the beginning of it, like, there's like these idiots just like spilling boiling water all over themselves and noodles flying all over the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm like, who cooks pasta this way? Like, what is wrong with people? Yeah. So that was the idea for the open. Like that's how all those commercials start. I love watching.
They open the cupboards and all the Tupperware falls out, and you're like, who lives like this?
It's always sick of all that messing and fussing with X, and then fill in the blanks, cue the cheesy demos, and then you got to have the blue screen at the end with the flashing number to call.
Call now. Yes.
Yeah. Now we get QR codes. That's about all that's changed.
I love it. I love that video. That was good.
Thank you. So before we get into all of the Microsoft news, we'll start with a little fail. This was the morning I woke up to. So it's been for the last 3 days. Copilot.
Yeah.
And then I get up this morning and Copilot is down.
Yeah.
So,
At
least they have a little humorous graphic in there.
Yeah.
They have the sad panda.
I've seen 404s where they have photos of the engineers and they're like, which one should you blame? And you pick one and that person gets like a shock or something, So.
Is it the oatmeal that had the 404, the funny 404s?
Yeah. I like those. Those are good. Or people put like, messages in their embedded HTML or, stuff like that.
I think the oatmeal, the comic, used to have some 404 templates.
Oh, okay.
That you could download and use on your site. And they were like different, like fictional beasts or whatever they were that got like ate your servers or whatever. It was funny.
Yep.
I can't find it, of course. Trying to look it up, but I've seen some good ones over the years.
And Bing.
I don't know why it went down. It is just down, or was down. I don't know if it still is. It was working for me until you tried to click on a resource and open it to whatever that answer was. Like it would write out the full thing.
DNS. $5 says it's DNS. It's always DNS.
Let's see. Did it say they're working to resolve the solution, but it doesn't look like it was updated.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, could have been
internal.
Could have been a DNS thing. So speaking of build,
yes,
I'll start with one of my favorite things, John. Microsoft is bringing Windows volumetric apps to MetaQuest headsets. Did you catch this bit?
No, I did not, and there's probably a good reason.
The good reason is they glanced over it like the segment was about 30 seconds long. So there is a experiment, I guess they did, and they're looking for more people to join in the experiment. And they showed off this demo of somebody. They didn't explain this, by the way. They just kind of glanced over a lot of things, and they're like, this is a thing that we built. And they show like some office setting where like parts of the app are able to be pulled out into 3D space.
Oh, good.
And then kind of like augmented.
It's
so
the Office 2025
for,
vision video.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Office has notoriously... I'm not saying it's this in this instance, but the Office team has historically done this where they're like, imagine in a world where blah, blah, blah. And you see someone inevitably enter an airport and things just pop up and they just touch some part of the air and then it magically goes to their phone and they've got a headset on that has no weight, no battery either, sort of thing. So I don't know.
So they said they have a new volumetric API available that is in developer preview. You can sign up for it through Office form. And they are looking for folks that will, quote, produce and provide plugins for 3D Windows desktop applications, more customers that work with 3D apps on Windows.
I will not submit that form. Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, what I'm
such
kind
an
of
angry old man.
interested
I'm
in-
sorry. I just don't care. Sorry.
I if I had something I thought I could build, I would give it a try. I just don't.
Okay.
3D stuff it's very time consuming. 2D apps are less involved. But what's interesting here is the fact
Are you sharing
that
the right window, by the way? Sorry to
oh,
interrupt.
am I not sharing it? Thank you.
Sorry.
Something do I
There
think
you
with dark mode, it's making my buttons dim where I can't read them, and I can't tell if it's highlighted or not.
Nah, no
So
worries.
thanks for that. So here's the video that they showed, and what I thought was more interesting than the 3D blowout here is the fact that they've got teams, what looks to be, I want to say some kind of office app or some kind of development tool, and a browser or an app all running in a spatial OS. Like this, the Quest can do this, but these do not look like Quest apps. They look like Windows desktop apps.
Yes, they do.
So is Windows going to, Microsoft going to provide a remote desktops viewer that is more capable than the one the Quest already has? And that is my big question from this. And then that would probably explain how the plugins work. So
Wait a minute.
if you've
That's
seen
your
the
big
Apple
question?
Vision Pro,
That's your
well,
big
it's kind of
question?
a big deal. So if you've seen
It's
the
not.
Apple Vision Pro,
It's not. This is not a big deal. No one works like this. I'm sorry, but no one works like this. If your head's down, sorry, I'm
hey,
gonna get
all
a bit
two
a
of
rant here.
us that do this are extremely excited. I'm telling you right now.
Who works like this, constantly going like this? Like imagine like you're like this in front of like, what's wrong with Ed? Like you're just in your like going like this all the time at your desk. It's exhausting. After 5
So-
minutes, you're like, I'm done.
I'll explain why I'm excited. The current situation on the Quest is it does do this virtual desktop type of a thing, virtual monitors. It does not do it well. The reason it doesn't do it well is because you either have to have a third-party app. There are quite a few, and that fragments things and makes it more difficult. But you have to use something like Spatial. You have to use the Meta Remote Desktop, or you have to use there's another one or two of them.
Okay.
So long story short, you're able to have these virtual monitors, but they all come with some caveat, right? One of them doesn't support Bluetooth mouse and keyboard. One of them doesn't support multiple monitors,
Or you can't
etc.
project OpenGL or WebGL or something.
Yeah,
like
they
that.
all have
Yeah.
some little hindrance. So if Microsoft had where you put on your headset and it's like, oh, you have a Windows PC here. Would you like to connect to it and then have as many monitors as big as you want, and Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, and even this 3D interactive possibility here, that would be awesome. I would love that. This is where the Vision Pro kind of excels, is its integration into the Mac OS. So with the Vision Pro, you get your MacBook out and you put your headset on, it automatically connects to it. You have just monitors willy-nilly everywhere. We need that with Windows, and hopefully this is the first step in getting it. So that was the article, and then there was a video.
A partnership with Meta
Let's
to make
see here.
Windows a first-class
This is how quick the
experience
mention
on
is.
Quest devices.
40 seconds.
And Windows can take advantage of Quest's unique capabilities to extend Windows apps into 3D space. We call these volumetric apps. Let's take a look.
Workflows are transforming with mixed reality. Microsoft is partnering with Meta to bring Windows 365 and local PC connectivity to Quest and enable developers to easily extend their Windows apps into the 3D space. PTC has been working with this platform, bringing Creo into mixed reality in under a day. This extension allows users to enhance spatial understanding without leaving the app that powers their work.
So
No
that's
one's
what
gonna
led to
use
the
this.
speculation there.
No one's going to use. I'm sorry, no one's going to use this. I'm not wearing
Told you.
that.
all two of us are outraged at you right now.
We have
That's
this already
that's what
today.
made me.
You can embed 3D models on a web page, no problem, and you can
Yeah,
just
of
turn them
course you
with your mouse. Now I have to do this and like all these. Sorry.
So this is where the speculation comes in that these are in some sort of pass-through mode. Is they said these are native Windows applications.
I don't care
They're
what
native
they are.
Windows
No one's going to use
applications.
this. Who's going to use this? Sorry, but like, no one works this way.
So
Sorry.
we'll talk again next month.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a surprise for you, and maybe you'll have something different to say.
Fine.
I
I'm
can't
still
say any
waiting.
more than that because it's
Okay.
not
All
a
right,
released
all
thing.
right.
It is an NDA type of a situation,
All
but
right. All right.
we'll see what happens next month. All right, on to more build announcements, John. 2024 Microsoft build. These are .NET announcements, by the way,
Yeah.
and there were some short sessions for build or .NET at build, but this was kind of an overall like everything that's going into the launch at build today. We got .NET Preview 9 or .NET 9 Preview 4, so that came out. And along with that is kind of a list of everything that was released. We got, AI stuff. We knew that more of that was coming.
Yeah, my bingo
.NET
card was
Aspire.
completely full on this one.
Yeah. It is stacked with chips on that AI token there. The .NET Aspire went GA. Did you catch
Yes.
that?
Yes, I
.NET
did. Yes.
went GA.
Yeah.
C# 13. Some of this is preview or even more than a preview. So
Yep.
you have to read between the lines on that one. And of course, they've been chasing performance for quite a while. And then we've got ASP.NET Core, Blazor, and Maui updates. The performance thing, I didn't mean to gloss over that too much either. Like they've been chasing it successfully for quite some time now. They've really nailed down the performance of
That's
.NET.
never a solved problem. There's always something you
Yeah.
can improve.
So .NET in AI, it's basically everywhere now. They
Yes.
even demoed out, I don't even know it's mentioned in here, but there's an Azure Copilot now. Did you see the Azure Copilot?
No, I didn't.
So you can basically ask Copilot to do things with Azure and, start things up and template apps out and all sorts of
Nice.
stuff.
Nice.
So there's an Azure Copilot. There's a huge ecosystem building here.
Are you referring to the GitHub Copilot extension for Azure, or are you talking about if this is a separate? This is like
This was
Okay.
a plugin they showed inside of Visual Studio Code.
okay, that might
And
be
they
the
opened
GitHub
up
extension for
a-
Azure.
Copilot command prompt and
Yes,
like there was an @Azure.
yes, that's what that's what we're talking about. Okay, so that's
Skill,
the
I
GitHub
guess.
Copilot extension. That's a new
Okay.
thing. That's a new thing, and I have a link for that in the list we have. So
They kind of, I guess, ad hoc referred to it as Azure Copilot during the
Sure.
demo.
Sure.
Let's see. So we've been dealing with this stuff for a while. Tensor primitives,
yes.
AI quick start samples.
So
Smart
for those who don't know,
components.
that's AI local. So that there's going to be NPUs that you're going to be targeting. You saw this through the announcement of the what is it now? The new Surface, whatever I don't know what they call it anymore. Is it the
Copilot Plus.
whatever the new laptop they announced on the first day?
Yeah, they have a Surface with Copilot Plus is
Yeah,
what
they've got
I've
got
seen it marketed
NPUs.
as.
They've got NPUs in the local machine that you can
And that
target.
is akin to the MacBook Pro M4
Yes.
processor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some demos there. There's also smart components.
Mhm.
This is something that we talked about, I think, previously on the
We did.
show. But if
Yeah,
you
we
didn't
did.
catch that, for MVC, ASP.NET Core, basically. MVC,
There's
Razor,
always a risk
Blazor.
calling something a smart component.
Yeah.
The naming is going to get you.
There are various AI-powered UI bits that they've
Yes.
experimented with. One of those is very interesting, leads to a lot of curiosity. They called it smart paste, where you can just take like
Oh, I love that. I
arbitrary
saw
text.
that. That's awesome. Yes.
Yeah, there's a little demo of it here. You take arbitrary text on your clipboard. They're going to pull it out of an email here, and then the AI figures out what UI fields it belongs to. If you are migrating data from a
Yes.
static source, emails, an old, ERP system or something maybe that's not, that you've got screenshots of, or weird, weird scenarios like that, or
I will give props
documents
where prop is needed. Yeah. Yes, this is definitely smart.
Stuff that is not in a schema and is very difficult, to kind of pick out the data and place it into a form manually, or just time consuming to do so. Maybe not so much difficult, but where there's no schema to the data, and you're kind of mapping that back to a form that does have a schema.
Do you know what I just thought of, Ed? You know how the web developers typically disable JavaScript because they don't want people copying and pasting their passwords into password fields?
Yeah.
Some jerk web designer is going to be like, no, we can't allow smart paste. I'm going to disable it. I'm like, why are you doing this? You're breaking the web. Sorry. I'm really ranty today. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, it's in the air. It's in the air, my friend. You should have been in my meeting earlier. Anyway.
Okay.
Expanding the .NET AI ecosystem, more AI. Large language models with .NET Aspire.
Yep.
Let's see, cloud native development with .NET. There's all sorts of stuff there.
Yeah.
So .NET Aspire GA we talked about.
Yes.
.NET is Linux native. I didn't catch that one before.
We talked about this earlier about how Canonical was shipping images. Yeah. We've talked about this already.
Okay, yeah. So that made the news there. Reduced memory usage. C# 13. Some of this wasn't released. It was just kind of experiments that they're talking about. I think.
Okay. Yep.
Extension types. Here it is. Extension types. This is a new take on extension methods. Extension types aren't currently in the preview, but they want you to see what they look like because they want to, form the API for this, or whatever you want to call it, the SDK.
So this is like distributed higher. What would you call it? Distributed object orientation class hierarchies, etc. Like extensions.
Yeah.
You know how the idea is like extensions they can live elsewhere, and okay.
So basically you have, these objects, person, organization, team, and then you want to add functionality to those objects without, in the theoretical scenario here, you do not have access to the source code for those, but you could come in here and say, I want to create an implicit person extension, and it's going to have a property named isLead, and it can read the properties off of an instance of person. So it's going to take the organization, the teams, and do a query on it, and then give you a true false back.
Yes.
So when you see the code, it looks like it is part of person. So I can say person.isLead. This is a little bit different than how a typical extension method works. You could probably come up with something similar to this now, but these are a little bit more first-class citizen. You've got the implicit and explicit, which is, from what I gathered of this, more like a static versus instance-based kind of a thing.
I'm wondering, can you do this on sealed classes? I'm not sure if you could or not. I don't know if they're going to violate that,
I don't see why not. They're not adding anything to the class itself. It's just basically bolting on some syntactic sugar on it, because this is a method that you could just write and run against a object instance of person. But this is doing it kind of to make it make the API feel a little bit.
I'm on the fence about
syntactic.
this. This is what my gut's telling me right now. It's like, okay, I like it, and I also don't like it. So I'll wait. Sorry.
So maybe that's why it's in preview, or
yes,
not even in preview yet, but it's being discussed. Like they're trying to figure out what the syntax for this is even going to be, probably. So like right now they're doing this public implicit extension and they're using for, which before it was when you write an
With.
extension method, you use this, this keyword.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. It's trying to make extension methods more prevalent, but easier to write, which are already pretty easy, but I like them. I like extension methods. I abuse them quite frequently. So I think they're good for mapping and all sorts of other fun stuff. So
Yep.
thumbs up from me. Web development from .NET. Let's see. Support for from OpenAPI document generation. So I guess in .NET 9 they are dropping the Swagger or swashbuckle
Yes.
stuff because
As they
it's
should.
fallen out of maintenance.
Yes.
So they're just including the OpenAPI specifications there.
I would imagine. I'm wondering if that's based on the Kiota group. So there's a open source project called Kiota, Kiota. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyways, this came about years ago, and they've been working on class generation and OpenAPI grokking, etc. And I would imagine that's what's happened. So,
well, I guess since Swagger has gone kind of out of maintenance, they're just opening the ecosystem back up to say, you know, we'll provide the OpenAPI specs, and then you can pull in whatever NuGet package makes you happy.
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
Provides
just
a
wondering if it's
UI
based
or
on that
whatever it
work
is.
that's been done. Yeah.
Not sure.
Hmm.
There's updates with Blazor coming, constructor injection versus parameter injection. We've commonly used constructor injection. Blazor used property injection for quite some time. I think there were reasons within the lifecycle methods of the components for that. But now they've gone back to allow component constructor injection. WebSocket compression. This one is really cool. I think this is like one of the director's cuts from .NET 8. But basically in .NET 8, you got the ability to render static pages out of ASP.NET using Blazor. The idea being that you would set up your application to completely render statically except for things that might need interactivity. And I think most scenarios are the opposite of that. So they're building it out to allow that now. So you create a globally interactive application that's either running server side or client side, and then you might have one page or two that, you know, has like marketing information or something that's not dynamic. It only needs to just be generated server side one time and rendered onto the page, and you're not clicking on, you know, buttons and widgets and things to interact with it. So now you have the ability to do that. So that page will spin up very quickly and have search engine optimization and all the stuff that you know and love from server side rendering, without the entire application having to commit to one way of rendering or another. So that's coming. Of course, multi-platform, .NET MAUI. Let's see.
Case studies.
Yeah, case studies. They're kind of showing where that all fits. And that's a lot of new .NET stuff. So
It is. Well, very, very much so.
So now on to some more topical, hot, what do you call it? Hot take news. We've got the new Microsoft AI recall feature.
Yes. No one's going to use this if you base this on what people say on Twitter, no one's going to use this. No one wants this.
Twitter was very harsh on this feature.
Yes.
It seems like people don't trust Microsoft, John. I don't know if you're catching that in their tone
is
or
is this
not.
a thing? This must be a new thing. You know, these Gen Zers, you know, they don't trust it. I'm kidding. So
It's not a new thing. Microsoft AI recall feature. So if you didn't catch this, give you my quick synopsis of what it is. Basically, behind the scenes, your PC is locally taking an indexed screenshot of stuff. I don't know when it determines that it needs to happen, but it is doing it at a fairly consistent pace, enough to where you can say, hey, you remember that one time I looked at this thing and, you know, maybe it was that car that was red I don't remember if I saw it on Craigslist or if it was on CarMax or if it was, on Twitter, but I really want to buy that car now. And this thing will go back and go, here's all the red cars you looked at on various websites and help you narrow down where you saw it via screenshot. Did I summarize that pretty good?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, they're going to take a lot of screenshots. It's like a black box recorder, but instead of text, it's going to be recording snapshots, like visual snapshots of your desktop. And then from that, it will determine it will try and, using AI, it will try and figure out what you're trying to do, and also grok the context of how you're working so that they can provide more meaningful insight into future potential operations, is my takeaway from this. So.
Yeah, there was a certain tech CEO that I will not mention the name of because I do not care for them. But he was already like, I already disabled this on my PC.
Sure.
And now that I look at the release notes here, I'm wondering what PC he did this on because it is only available on the new Surface laptops with Copilot Plus. So
there you go.
How do you disable it if it's just released and only on a certain set of laptops that this person doesn't use? So I'm calling BS on that one, as I do all of the other stuff he does with Tesla and X and boring tunnels and other things that are pie in the sky, never see the light of day. Vaporware. Anyway.
Okay.
Did I go on a rant? I'm sorry.
That's my job.
So it's only available on these select PCs that have the AI coprocessor on it. And then maybe the next article I have that, let's see, here it is. I think this is it. Does the recall pose a security risk? If we scroll down a little bit, see if I can find the line that I'm looking for here. I was looking for the quote, and let's see if I can find it with a search really quick. If not, I'll just explain. Yeah, I can't find it. One of these articles had a quote in it that I was going to bring up because it's really what most people, I think, are really caring about. And it said that it has security built in, and no, it will not take screenshots of any browser in private tabs. Does that put your minds at rest now? Are you good? Are you good now?
My inner Bill Burr is going off right now.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like, hey, Alexa, get out of my house. And it's because he's like, why would you do that? Why would you bug your own home? Why don't you just go to the Illuminati and help them build your robot replacement? So he doesn't trust tech is the point. And I think there are some people who feel that same way around.
I've got a session that I used to give that had a punchline like this to get people's interest in the session. It was a session about AI, machine learning, big data. And it starts off with the show Twilight Zone. And
okay.
The idea is, I've got a slide that shows this image from the Twilight Zone. And the episode, this guy gets exiled to a planet. And it's the future. They take him in a rocket ship. They put him on a planet. He's by himself. It's just like this little moon or whatever in space somewhere. And he's really lonely. So the warden of this space isolation program brings him a android companion. So this female companion to keep him company while he's exiled on this rock alone. So the guy gets acquitted, right? And in true Twilight Zone fashion, the warden comes back and he's like, come on, let's get in the spaceship. You've been acquitted. You don't have to be here, in isolation anymore. You can go back to living a normal life. And the guy goes and gets his android companion and he's like, no, she's got to stay. We've only got room in the rocket for two. So he's conflicted. Does he bring his android girlfriend back with him? Well, he can't. So he's got to either stay with it or leave it alone in isolation like him. So he gets a rock and just basically smashes the android.
Oh,
So the moral of this story, I think, for the Twilight Zone was supposed to be like he doesn't want this thing to feel isolated and alone like him, so he'd rather kill it, even though it's like not in a, it's run a real human, it's just an android, so he's just like bashes it in. My take on it was he didn't want somebody looking through his search history.
Oh, okay. Very awful. That's an awfully long punchline.
I'm
Build
here
up
all
to the
week.
punchline. Yes, exactly.
Or at least for the next 10 minutes. So let's keep going. Microsoft Build news. Was there anything else from Build directly that you wanted to talk
Yeah,
about?
there was
John? I think it is
GitHub
all in
Copilot
here.
extensions was the other one that I had sent you a link on, which was something that was
Yes.
new.
Got it right there.
Yeah. So what this is GitHub has GitHub Copilot, which has been around for over a year. A lot of people are using it, and they've recently just opened it up to extensions. So now you can extend the capabilities of Copilot through these capabilities. And Octopus Deploy was actually one of the featured extensions. So if you scroll a little
Nice.
bit further down, there's a video. These are the extensions that are available, and you got about 12 partners or so. Right, the second one, that's DataStax.
Oh.
The second one there, that's us. So there we go. So you can now run the extension, and what this allows you to do is basically query deployments with Copilot extensions, and it's a textual based, obviously through Copilot, but we can render out things like tables and Markdown and stuff. So you can ask questions, freeform text questions of Octopus Deploy, your instances. What is the state of my deployments? Give me some security vulnerabilities for my deployments, etc. So these and other extensions have been written and is now available for you to use within the context of Copilot. So that was the news that really was interesting.
Can it can it make sense of YAML files for you? Explain this YAML code to me like I'm
Sure.
12.
Yes, exactly. So that's the new news. News that caught my attention was the extendability of GitHub Copilot. I think that's
Nice. It's a little sidebar from all the AI and build jargon and other news. I thought this was a fun one. Microsoft brings modern programming to the iconic NES console.
cool. Oh, geez. Okay.
I thought this was really neat. So, a principal
.NET
engineer
on
at
the NES.
Microsoft
That's awesome.
has compiled .NET to run on the NES.
On the 6502 processor. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember
thought this
targeting
was
that in
pretty cool.
Unity. That runs at 1 megahertz.
So I thought this just was normal news, but is actually part of Build as well. So I lied. So
That's hilarious.
it's a
That's
presentation at Build. I just thought this was cool. Like,
That
why
is
not?
cool.
Like
Yeah, that is cool.
run .NET on. Oh, thank you, Norton.
Apparently you're protected.
Yeah, this is this is
Oh,
this is
no.
the fakest of fake like garbage.
Is this is that an ad on the browser?
No, that was one of those malware attacks. Like they want you to
gotcha.
click on the thing and then call the number so they can get your credit card information. So don't look at that article. That would be a cool one though to see at Build, I suppose. We'll come back next week and recap on the final thing that we had here, which was open sourcing DOS 4.
Yes.
We'll save
And
that
sudo
for next
for
week.
Windows. Yes.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.